Welcome back to Vision Auto Garage. In this episode we fabricate a new front to the footwell and install the toe board. The first job of the day is to clean back the areas around the front footwell, including trimming back a section of triangle webbing to improve access. This will be repaired later. Using a piece of 1mm or 19 gauge steel, I rough cut a panel and offer it up for size. After a little fettling and some trimming, marks are made for the footwell side return flange. This is folded on the box pan brake and trimmed back to match the original size. I'm really pleased with how our footwell repair is now taking shape, particularly the return flange that eventually the footwell side will mount to. The next thing to do is make another return for the top of the footwell that will eventually be patched in here. To make the repair look as original as possible, I'm going to replicate the spot welds with plug welds, which are roughly spaced an inch apart. After marking out the hole spacing, I use a punch to make the holes to weld through. This process slightly deforms the flange around each hole, so it's quickly flattened out with a body hammer. With the new footwell front panel located and minor adjustments made, it's securely clamped for welding. I start by tacking it in place at even spacing before filling the plug welds along its base. It's taken just under 4 hours to get this footwell front panel fabricated and welded in. I'll lineage back the welds and then start work on the inner toe board. Once the panel is fully stitch welded, the accessible seams are given a coat of brushable seam sealer to prevent any future water ingress. I've started preparing our new toe board to go into the car. I've trimmed it down to size and used my punch again to punch some holes ready for some plug welds. I've also given it a coat of weld through primer on all the flanges and the same on the areas behind the toe board. After making light work of the inner toe board, there's time to move on to the footwell side. To remove the old side, I trim around the A-post flange and drill out the spot welds along the front and top flanges. Following my usual process of test fitting, marking and cutting, the replacement footwell side is trimmed to shape. Finally, the panel is clamped in place and tacked along and under the A-post before plug welding through the holes left after drilling out the spot welds. I'm ending this episode a bit more abruptly than usual because I made a bit of a silly mistake and ended up paying for it with 7 days in hospital. For a while I'd been messing around with my angle grinder with a broken switch, meaning that I couldn't turn it on with gloves. So I kept frequently taking my right hand glove off, turning the angle grinder on and doing what I needed to do with one glove on. You probably noticed in previous episodes where I've using the grinder with no right hand glove on. Also without the guard. I'd taken the guard off quite many months ago to access an area you couldn't quite get the grinder into and didn't put it back on. And inevitably if you use a grinder like this with no guard and no glove, the inevitable is going to happen. And unfortunately I caught my right thumb on the knuckle with a flap disc, cut straight into the bone and made a bit of a mess of it. Patched it up myself, thought I'd be a big strong man, stereo strips, cleaned it up, put a bandage on it, but unfortunately 4 days later all hell broke loose. It was swollen 3 times the size and infected. So I went into hospital, got admitted, and I've had 3 operations on it since to treat septic arthritis in the joint and a strep infection, also known as the flesh-eating disease. So I'm very fortunate to come away from it with only a repair to the tendon, and obviously antibiotics to treat the infection, which is now much better. So the episode's a bit shorter. Fortunately, I've got footage of most of the work, but I've now replaced the angle grinder. In fact, at the start of this episode, I replaced it just after catching myself with the old one. Needless to say, there's a lesson learnt there, and I'll up my safety for future episodes. I really hope you're enjoying watching them. Thanks so much for those of you who subscribed and continue to watch. I love making the videos of what I'm doing, and I hope you enjoy watching them as much as I make them. So thank you very much for watching. Check back soon for more updates. Planning to do a little bit of a tour of other projects we've got going on, like the Jaguar V6 midget build, the GSXR 1000 midget build, and a couple of others in the pipeline. Thanks for watching. See you soon.